Hey, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of Lost Like Mike. I'm your host, Mike Gonzalez. Thanks for coming by. I appreciate the subscribers. Thanks for messaging me at lostlikemike@gmail.com. Tomorrow's the last appointment on my doctor visits. Don't mean to just jump right in. I just figured I'd have some place to start from. When last we spoke, it was just the last round of tests and things. It got me thinking. I'm gonna go. Hopefully they won't. I think I'm done with the poking and prodding for now. But I've been very frustrated with the healthcare system. You could probably sum it up and say it's the whole government. It's all these different things. A friend of mine has an illness, and the illness is very serious. And she's younger than than most of the people that I know, but she needs a procedure to find out more, to get to the bottom of it, to see if it's something that's going to need more extensive treatments or how they're going to handle it. I don't mean to be vague. I don't mean to skirt around but it's not my story to tell. And so I don't really like doing this anyway, but I feel like it's on my mind, so it's what's on my mind. So she starts prepping she books it, of course, because, what are you going to do? They tell you you've got this really serious illness, and to see how serious it is, we're going to have to do this massive other thing, this other test. I apologize for my drink if you're just listening to the podcast. Normally I just have an open can of whatever, but today I have this Yeti cup, and there's ice cubes in it, and it's making dinging sounds. And of course, the more I think about not touching the glass, the more I psychologically need a drink, and so I gravitate towards it. So I apologize for that. Anyway, so needless to say, this friend books this test, and there's quite a bit of preparation that you have to do to get ready for this test. But as with the way many of us are these days, we have to call the doctor's office, prior to the procedure, just to confirm everything's on point. If you need to do any certain particular fasting or things like that, or checking your billing, or checking make sure insurance is billing everything correctly, that kind of thing. And so she's midway in all this testing, this prepping for this test, and she calls and making sure everything's good to go. And then they said, yeah, everything's on schedule. You're good to go. You're doing everything perfect on the prepping. We'll just need you to pay. And it was over $2,000 in cash. Well, $2,000 in, and after, the insurance company does their part. So out-of-pocket costs. And they said at the time of when you arrive, you'll need to pay that. Prior to doing any procedures, we'll need that money, over $2,000. And so, to her credit, she says, well, before I outright cancel, is there anything I can do payment wise, can we like set it up on like a schedule, you know, $200 a month, or the person on the line says, well, let me talk to so and so, and they go and talk, come back. You could pay $1,000 tomorrow, and then payments of $500. And you know, who among us can throw down that kind of, you know, cheddar on a whim, right? So she had to cancel. And it's not like it's just a all or nothing, like you just give up, but they have credit cards, like healthcare credit cards, that you could apply for, where you could just put the balance on it, and then, you know, you can get the procedure done. They declined. They wouldn't do it. And you know, financially, she's, you know, just north of you know, with she has several kids, and you know, but she is occupied. So, you know, she has a job. Anyway, but the idea is, you know, I mean, I sat there and contemplated whether or not to move forward with my own tests. And when I say livelihood in terms of my tests, you know, they give my life purpose, my ability to talk, my ability to sing. I get that. Obviously, I want to confirm that there's nothing, you know, like cancers or things like that. I mean, I obviously have some medical concerns that are specific to like life or death, but in terms of treatments and tests from my throat and vocal issues, it's definitely outside the realm of medical necessity. You know, even I have my limitations. They were, you know, I talked about they said they wanted me to go to a speech pathologist to relearn how to talk and sing, you know, like now that it's been so long that I've been compensating because of, you know, my illness or whatever. But that'd be like $400 or $500, and you just can't make that kind of financial commitment these days without crossing your T's and dotting your I's, making sure everything else is taken care of, you know, like medical things for my children and my wife, that kind of thing. It's funny, I say that, and like my wife's gonna go get a tattoo on Friday, but she's been saving up her money for that. I'm not gonna get into, you know, I should make her come tell you what she's gonna get. She's got this she likes this tattoo artist that does like line work, whatever. Anyway, yeah, but I mean, you know, but what bothers me is that whatever's going on with this friend of mine, the thing that's happening to her that's medically progressing, obviously is there. And part of the diagnosis is needing to do this, right? That would help treat it or get to a point where they can figure out what's going on, right? And the only determining factor that separates her from being one step closer to being cured is finance, is being able to pay for this procedure. And I just don't think that makes sense, right? So if she was desolate and poor, she could qualify for government assistance. Um, to pay for her procedure. Um, it's just frustrating. And obviously, if she was super wealthy, she could just pay for it out of pocket. You know what I mean? Best doctors out there. Yeah. I don't know. And then I was overhearing a conversation about. It just seems like there's an acceptance of corruption at all levels, and everybody's pointing at the other, right? Like, poor people justify their behavior of stealing and taking what they need for their families. Based on this, the reasoning behind it being that the rich are scammers and hustlers, and they don't pay taxes, and they have loopholes to avoid having to pay people, having to the disparity of between the rich and the poor, and et cetera, et cetera. They justify their stuff. They take advantage of government programs like welfare and Medicaid or Medicare, and food stamps or what have you, and they justify hustling the system and taking advantage of it. Or these friends of mine well, they're not friends of mine. I mean, they were talking about these other people. I'm saying my friends were talking about people that they know. I don't, I'm not saying that like I'm whatever. I'm just saying, so they were telling me how all these different people that they know that they take advantage of these guardianship grants that I'm not even aware of. I'd have to do more research about them, but I know, I mean, I've heard of, sort of in my peripheral about these programs where they have like, you act as a caregiver to a family member and you receive like this credit. But they were giving all these examples of, that was just one of them, where they know of anecdotal evidence where there's people that they know that sign up for these government programs not needing them. Like, they say they're going to care for their grandmother, and their grandmother and themselves drive to go cash the check, and just, it's fraudulent. But more often than not, they say, well, the rich, they exploit these things. They don't pay taxes. They don't do these. They're corrupt. They don't pay employees what they're worth. They're corrupt. They skirt like paying their fair share of these things. I mean, but standing on the outside and just looking at everybody, it just seems like it's all shady, right? Like, two wrongs don't make a right, right? So I can be frustrated. I'm frustrated at those rich people that, unless forced by the law, will take advantage of every loophole out there. And some may argue, well, why not take advantage of the loopholes? Well, it's more the spirit of the law. I mean, I've worked for companies where like I've talked about this on the podcast at length about, I've worked for companies that, well, they say, okay, well, looks like we're going to have to raise the wages for our employees, but we can't do it until we finish raising the price of the products that we're selling. Which once we roll out the new prices on all of our products, then we could talk about, increasing the wages. And if we have to give health insurance to full-time employees, then I better not see not one employee over the ceiling of part-time employee 30 hours. If there's any regular employee that works full-time hours, then that member of management is going to be in trouble, because they didn't want to pay for health insurance for their people, right? But they didn't want to pay the wages so they could afford their own health care or like a decent health care plan, right? As part-time employees, they're just screwed, like to hell with him. And then you say, well, that's the case. And then they say, well, we're following the letter of the law. We're not doing anything illegal. Okay. But you're also not doing anything ethical. Ethical. You're not operating on any sort of moral basis, right? Is it your obligation to take care of your fellow man? Maybe, maybe not. Some say that's a no-brainer. Yes, it is. But, you just have to flash back to the Depression and to an era where the government had to step in and say, look, we have to implement a minimum wage, because you fools out here, and we have to have some semblance of law, during that time of during the time of the Depression, where they had to say, look, if these people working, you have people working well over 80 hours, just morning and night, and for pennies, children, we have to implement some labor laws. But why? Because if left to their own devices, the companies were going to take advantage to the full extent of these people that needed money. They make the argument now that, that there's illegal aliens that are cross the border that wait outside of Home Depot, and they're skilled workers. So it used to be that you could drive up a truck and say, hey, I'm offering money, $50 a day, for some guys to come work. And it used to be that your truck, you'd get the 4 or 5 guys, whatever, the crew, you'd get them real quick. But now that there's this skilled labor, they're like, nah, we'll wait. And they have to pay a little bit more of a premium because whatever, they're paying. But again, those people that are still doing that, those construction companies or those home developers and stuff that are still hiring illegally, they're getting that end of the deal because they're not having to pay health insurance. They're not having to pay their half of the taxes or the Social Security. They're getting theirs on their end, and so they can pay whatever. It's just, I think I'm just frustrated with overall the corruptness of it. I'm hearing all kind of phrases in my mind, like not to hate the players, but to hate the game. But honestly, they always say nice guys finish last, right? But the true part of that is like you sit and do the grind, and then you meet and know people that get the pat on the back because they know how to work the game. They know how to, like I was pointing out to somebody, I said, man, look at this person. They're exploiting all these different avenues and making all this money. Is that they have this big income, but most of the things that they're doing are fraudulent or against the. And you're grinding. You're trying to follow the path, right? Of the righteous, or of doing, of like saying, all right, according to most things, if I do X, Y, and Z, then I'll get ahead, kind of thing. There's something in the middle where it's the right way to be. But you know, I just think that everybody's screwing everybody, right? From the poor to the rich, from the educated to the street smart. Everybody's got their games that they're running, and they think that they're smarter than the other guy. And meanwhile, it's all underhanded. It's all, it's just really frustrating. And it's hypocritical, when they're talking about like these politicians. They're like, well, they get like, oh, so and so, and this mudslinging back and forth of, and if you look hard enough, everybody's doing some shady shit. Everybody. I mean, who among us hasn't? Like, I pay my taxes, right? But even I'm looking for a tax break. You know what I mean? Everybody looks to see if they can write off those paper clips, man. I mean, and yeah, those laws exist for a reason, because, they want to help the people that are contributing to society, people that are operating their own businesses, or spending the money that they're earning to better themselves and to do these different things. So you can write off whatever. But what are taxes for? You know what I mean? Whew. I mean, I was talking to a friend about, and yeah, there's state taxes, not state taxes, but property taxes. We were talking about like the roads and the highways, and my curiosity was the distribution of the government's money, like how on a state level, a city level. I have an abstract idea. I went to school, I studied, whatever. But in terms of like income tax, and that's what we got talking about, like all of these, of the different corruptions, like of the frustration with all these corruptions. And I apologize. I didn't even mean to talk about this right now. I just got lost in the weeds thinking about all of these things. One of my frustrations this week is just listening to different teachers, of hearing stories from this newest crop of students. Kids are getting bad, man. And you may say, well, they've always been a little bit bad, or they've always been a little bit bad. It's just the media's hyping it up. It's just social media hyping it up. And no, man. And it may just be anecdotal, but the level of disrespect, the level of just, I don't care, from the kids, from all the teachers that I'm talking to, the people that I'm hearing, they all resoundingly say is the behavior of the kids are getting bad, or getting worse, or like they're just the blatantness of the, like, of the I don't care portion of it. And the lack of caring from the parents and the faculties are the different in certain situations. I mean, teachers are like people that I know are quitting, just like, Psh, I'm not doing this. What, the support system's not there. The consequences. I don't know. I just something's rotten in the state. We got to go and figure this out, man. I just think when there's so many levels of things that are not right. The pendulum is hitting its apex and it's coming back, dude. I think if cycles hold true, I just feel like that there just has to be a breaking point and like a restructuring. It has to like that. How like where it was getting to a point of like to a borderline of abuse. It felt like in school systems where it was so super strict and so rigid and so where they were just I don't know. I mean, it was described sometimes as sucking out that free spirit, that creative spirit, being so regimental and so everything was so rule by rule, coloring inside the lines, that it was breaking the spirits of these young people. And the other side of that swing is just anarchy in the classrooms, riots, not learning anything. I get it. You hear about people saying, well, you can't be just sending homework. These kids study 8 hours all day. And then, which, I mean, look, come on, take it easy with that. I mean, they learn, yes, but, it's not like some sort of Pink Floyd song. It's not that hardcore. But then they have to come home and do all of this, it's your job, not our job to teach. Hey, I'm a parent, man, right? I know that I don't just clock in and say, hey, eat your green beans and go to bed on time. I don't have any responsibility to your education or to the shaping of your study habits, or you know what I mean? I mean, what is wrong with you people? I hear stories about parents seeing the kids get into cars and the parents couldn't care less. No acknowledgement, no hi, how you doing? No, hey baby, get in the car. Not just like they could care less. Kids showing up just not knowing fundamentals, like, about the expectations of school, or about, I mean, standing in lines, or, like the things you learn in pre-K, like, I was hearing about their first and last names. Far behind the curve, to say the least. Anyway, you can blame it on whatever you want to blame it on. Standardized tests. You want to blame it on lack of parent involvement. People are having kids for Facebook updates and an increase in their welfare check. Then things are going wrong. I'm not saying that's everywhere, but I'm saying the motivations in certain circumstances are not there. Maybe I'm just frustrated right now. I'm sorry. I'll tell a joke. I don't know any jokes. I'll tell you. We'll get off the subject. Let's hop off the subject for a minute. because yeah. Because of what I do, I park in a parking garage, like at my day job 5 times a week, and downtown 3 to 4 times a week. And the other day I was following the same routine that I do every time I go to the show. Before I left, I was kind of in a rush, but that was before I left. I was monitoring the time. I got in the car, I have everything I needed. I book it. I got about halfway to the show, and I was like, "Look, you're back on time. Everything's cool. You'll make it. Chill. Let's relax." So I went into autopilot mode. I entered the parking garage, and they have these big metal, I guess rafters, or these walls, like, they're just like structural things that are little divides that they're like support beams. And what I like to do is park where my passenger side is as close as I can be to these metal support beams, so that I can open my door freely, because there's ample room between driver's side door and the line that separates my parking area. Okay? Am I painting a picture? Wow, that sounded like I'm having a stroke. Am I painting a picture? Yes. Okay. So I wasn't in a rush or anything, but I pull into the parking garage, get to my level, and there's a car parked. There's a big Suburban parked in the parking space next to where I was going to park. And I just was mindful of it, right? I didn't think I made any adjustments. I was pulling in like normal, and I hear krunk. It was the slightest sound of like, and I know that sound. I had impacted the side of my car with this metal pole. I was furious. I pull out. I adjust like just a millimeter. I just barely had to. I don't know what happened. And I park, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to get off. I don't want to come around the car. I don't want to look at this stupid spot. And I have a gray vehicle. All right. So first of all, I don't know what the magic color of car is that I don't get scratches and scuffs on, or that don't predominantly pop out, because somehow I seem to gravitate towards gray vehicles when I think of the subject. I mean, I think when I had a black Jeep, I saw scratches on it. No big deal, whatever. But for some reason, I can't. Ever since I've gotten this stupid car, I just found a way to get scratches all over this stupid thing. Which, anyway, I come around the corner, I look down, and I'll put it this way. I texted my wife, and I said, yeah, because I tried to call her and she was doing something else. So I messaged her and said, yo, I scratched the car. I was parking. I wasn't rushing. I parked and I scratched the car. She's like, oh man, oh, so blah, blah, blah. But the next day she's leaving for work or whatever. And she sends me a message. That's not a scratch. That's an auto accident. And I thought that was pretty on point. I don't know. It looked bad because there was white paint on these metal poles. And so part of the scratched area had white paint in the line of it. Anyway, here's the thing. I'm not a car. They used to call me Grand Theft Auto because I would always be in something different. Like I would buy and sell the cars like indiscriminately. I wasn't like somebody who like lived in the car. Do you know what I mean? What I know about myself is that I don't like brand new cars. I don't like brand new really anything. Because I don't like being hovered over by people being like, oh, you got to keep that mint condition. It's all about the mint condition. You don't want to get a scuff on it. You don't want to get any, you don't want to get that. That's a mint condition comic book right there. You don't want to get a little crease on it. You don't want to get a little bump. Yeah, but I want to read it. I wouldn't even take it out of the package. Okay. And my wife's that way about pretty much everything. If it's brand new, right? So you get the brand new car or a newer car. Because I didn't even buy a brand new car, by the way. This is old. I mean, it's not old, but it's a used vehicle. But not used enough for me. Because she's like, don't eat in the car. No open containers. And I'm like, I can't live like that. I can't. I think subconsciously I do things to take it away from being pristine so that I'm not sweating over it all the time. It's like when I fell off my bike, right? I liked it. I was there laying on the floor bleeding going, yes, dude, finally. So I'm not like all paranoid about it. Like, don't fall down. Careful what you're doing, Sometimes you just got to bite it and lay on the ground bleeding and be like, I'm okay. The sky didn't fall. Like, I'm okay. But I was still pissed about this stupid scratch. I often would tell her, like, but that's the whole thing, man, with depreciation. You can't pay payments on a car that's falling apart. So you have to kind of get something that's kind of nice, at least semi-nice, But I told that story, I think I did on this podcast, but I remember when I got a free tire. The kind of tires that you flip over because you're trying to work out or whatever. And this thing was massive, dude. Like, huge tire. And it was raining. And I went to go pick up this tire. And the guy said, I'm going to go get some bungee cords out of my garage for you. I'm like, cool, thank you. He's like, when I come back, we'll throw it up on the roof of your car. Because it wouldn't fit in my trunk. It was that big. And I don't know what possessed me, but I thought, well, yeah, I'll hold my beer. I'm going to throw this on the roof of the car myself. And I must have just gotten the car pretty recently. So it was real shiny and, unscathed. And then I got up under it like I was going to do some real work, and I grabbed it and I tossed it, and it whap hit the side of my car and put a nice scuff mark across the driver's side back door and a little ding on the top of the car. I was like, geez, man. Like, if I you think like I was like in some sort of gunfight with all of these rocks that have hit the front windshield. Honestly, if you looked at my car right now, it's probably at a perfect point for me because of all this stuff that's like cosmetically wrong with it. I should be content, right? I should stop bitching, right? It's like, you have a car, asshole. I get it. Anyway, I also have a car payment, so it's not like whatever. Yeah. Anyway, I hope everybody's doing all right. Please message me at lostlikemike@gmail.com. Let me know how you're doing. I appreciate you subscribing. Appreciate you checking out this conversation that I have on the weekly. Sorry if I got a little bit, I'm not really political, but just bitchy. And, you know, I think it's run off from last week when I was saying that I was just in a bad mood. It just seemed like sometimes things just kind of been getting to me. I need to set that. I have a punching bag in my backyard. I just got to let off some steam, I think. Anyway. Y'all take care of yourselves. I'll talk to y'all next week. Be safe. I'll see ya.